All right, today we're diving into the story of a boxer who spent years living in the shadows of giants, only to build a legacy of pure dominance, all on his own. This is the incredible journey of Larry Holmes, the Easton Assassin.
And that question right there, that's everything when it comes to his career. See, Holmes wasn't some phenom born into the spotlight. Nah, he had to fight his way in, one grueling round at a time. His whole story is the answer to that question. So let's rewind. Our story really gets going back in the late 1960s. We're not under the bright lights of a big arena, but in a gritty, old-school gym in Easton, Pennsylvania. And in that gym, there's this young guy with a powerful frame and an even more powerful work ethic, and he's just getting started. Now, at this time, you've got Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. They're global superstars. They've got Olympic gold, they're famous all over the world. And then there's Larry Holmes. He's their apprentice. He was literally the guy they paid to be a human punching bag behind closed doors, the anonymous workhorse, making the champs even better. I mean, think about that education for a second. He wasn't just learning from a coach yelling on the sidelines. He was learning from the absolute best by taking their punches and trying to give them back. It was like he was earning his PhD in boxing, one brutal sparring session at a time.
But while he was in those gyms, taking those lumps from legends, he was secretly building something. He was crafting a single perfect weapon that would completely change his destiny.
And that weapon? It was his jab. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Boxing historians, the people who live and breathe this stuff, have called it the single greatest jab in the history of the heavyweight division. Not one of the best ever.
Yeah, they called it the sniper's rifle, and what a perfect name that is. This wasn't just some flicky jab to keep guys away. No way. It was an offensive weapon. It was stiff, it was fast, and it was so accurate he could set up everything else he wanted to throw. For the guys fighting him, it was a puzzle they just could not solve.
Okay, so he's got this legendary weapon in his back pocket. The sparring partner is finally ready to step out of the shadows and into the light. But to become a champion, well, you have to walk through fire first. That moment came in 1978 against the incredibly tough Ken Norton. And this wasn't just some fight. This was an epic 15-round war for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Man, that final round, it is the stuff of boxing legend. You have two men, completely and utterly exhausted, just standing in the middle of the ring, trading absolute bombs. And Holmes showed everybody that night. He wasn't just a jab. He had a granite chin and the heart of a lion, and he won that title by a razor-thin decision.
So Larry Holmes was finally the champion, but his time at the top was strange, you know? It was this weird mix of total dominance on one hand and a constant uphill battle for recognition on the other. Just look at this number, 20. 20 times he put his belt on the line, and 20 times he walked out of that ring still the champion. You know who has more consecutive heavyweight defenses in all of history? Joe Louis. That's it. That's the list. This was a 7-year reign of unbelievable consistency, all while fighting under the massive shadow of Muhammad Ali. And his time as champ wasn't just about outboxing guys. It was about pure, unadulterated toughness. This man was a survivor. He could take incredible punishment and still find a way to win, no matter what. You want the perfect example. His fight against Ernie Shavers, who might be the hardest puncher who ever lived. Shavers catches him with a monster right hand that puts Holmes flat on his back. For pretty much anyone else, the fight is over. But Holmes, running on pure instinct, gets back to his feet, survives the round, and then rallies to come back and win the fight. His spirit, it was just unbreakable. So after all the wins, all the defenses, all the wars, what is the final legacy of Larry Holmes? Well, it's a little complicated, and probably not what you'd expect. This was the big conflict of his career, right? He was the champion right after Muhammad Ali, probably the most beloved athlete on the entire planet. So Holmes was always respected as a fighter, but he was never really adored like Ali was. He was always seen as the guy who wasn't Ali. But what he did prove, wow, it's arguably even more powerful. He proved that the quiet guy in the gym, the one doing the thankless work in the shadows, could rise up and become one of the most dominant champions the sport has ever seen. And that's how his story really ends. He didn't just win a title and fade away. He built a business empire and retired a very wealthy man. And while the public's affection came and went, he earned the one thing that truly matters in that world, the absolute, unwavering respect of the fighters he shared the ring with. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. The story of Larry Holmes really makes you ask what a true legacy is all about. Is it about the roar of the crowd and public adoration? Or is it about that quiet, hard-earned respect you get from the very few people who know exactly how hard the journey really was?